So, October has a pretty bad rap when it comes to the stock market, and so far this month it's living up to its bad reputation. That leads our CNN Money top four this week. Our CNN Money panel is here: Paul LaMonica, Rana Foroohar, and Samuel Burke. Okay, guys, another volatile week on Wall Street. We're talking about a 400-point swing on the Dow. Paul, is there more selling or are there bargains here?
I think there are definitely bargains going forward, but that doesn't mean that the worst is over. We could still have another steep sell-off because a lot of people are worried about Europe's economy. Ebola is a big wild card, but there are quality companies trading for a lot less money than they used to that have probably been oversold.
I agree. No, I think that, the U.S. is still in some ways the prettiest house on the ugly block, right? It doesn't feel that great here, but if you look at Europe, about ready to tip into recession, Asia's slowing down, China is really having a debt crisis of its own right now. I think that we're going to see a lot more volatility, but I think that people will have a few better places to park their money, ultimately, than U.S. equities.
Every time we've tried to have a pullback for the last 2 years of 10%, you haven't had it in the S&P 500. The NASDAQ had a full 10% correction, bounced right back, Samuel.
And there are lots of opportunities just because of what you're saying. For instance, I was covering Netflix and Google this week. Netflix down 26%, but then just a few hours later, back up 7%. Wish I would have gone in. Google down 5% at one point. An hour later, back up 4%.
But raise your hand. We shouldn't be surprised the market's going down.
No.
There are this is not
not.
unpredictable here.
No.
All of these factors have been well known. So does the Fed do anything, or does the Fed really get out of the stimulus business?
Not. I mean, that's the
I
big.
hope not,
yeah,
too.
I mean, the rally that we saw, on Thursday at the end of the day, a lot of it was due to one Fed member hinting that maybe QE lasts a little bit longer.
Jobs are coming back. We had a decent jobless benefits number. So, you look at the internals of the American economy, it's not doing so badly.
The Fed should act if the economy is weakening.
Right,
don't you
and there's absolutely, they've already put $4 trillion into the economy since the financial crisis. We know that's created some bubbles, and we know that it's not doing much more for the real economy to put more money in.
All right, lots for us to talk about, and lots for us to watch. Stocks are dropping, so are oil prices. Oil down 25% from the peak this summer. I think it's fair to say oil prices have plunged since June. The national average for a gallon of regular gas down more than 20 cents in the last 4 weeks. And Gas Buddy tells us that parts of the western U.S. and the Rocky Mountain states could see another drop of 15 to 30 cents a gallon. The Energy Department says heating bills will also be lower this year. What's driving this decline? Is it only production in the U.S. up and worries about global demand?
It's two things. Production in the U.S. is up because of the shale boom, but also China is slowing down. That's a big part of this. For the last year, China has been the single largest energy consumer in the world. When they slow down, the price of oil drops.
For every 1 cent that gas drops in the United States, that's $1.4 billion that Americans have to spend on something else, and that's coming
it's like a tax cut.
Exactly, except even better than the last one for most people. And this is coming right before the big holiday buying season, so people might have even more to spend. Could be good for consumers.
If you live in the Northeast or the Midwest, you have a little bit warmer winter, and you have these lower prices for how you're heating your home. That's going to be a real tailwind for consumers.
Definitely. This is very good news, and hopefully oil prices stabilize. We just don't want them to plummet, because remember how low they got in 2008?
Yeah,
no
for
one
all
was
the wrong
partying.
reasons.
Right,
and we're starting to worry that we might be having it for the
That's
wrong
why when you hear
reasons
politicians promise $2.50 gas, you say, no. The reason you get $2.50 gas is because bad things are happening. Let's talk about cord cutters, because this story is for you folks. HBO and CBS unveiling new subscription internet services. The CBS offering is available immediately. It costs $6 a month. HBO's debuts next year. No word yet on price. Is this the game changer? Is this it, Samuel?
Netflix was the game changer, but our parent company, Time Warner, was the first television company to actually pull the cable cord. This is a game changer. But what I'm wondering now is if I'm getting Hulu, Netflix, the CBS offering, HBO, is it going to cost as much as cable when it's all said and done?
And what a pain is it going to be? How many logins am I going to have to know?
How many logins? And also, you're going to be able to see what you're actually being charged for, which is interesting. And I think that's going to put a lot of pressure on content creators to make you want to pay for it.
Yeah, people want it a la carte, and they're finally getting it. But what's interesting here is that live sports remains the most coveted form of programming right now, because people don't really watch it usually on delay. They're not skipping through ads. And guess what? No one is offering live streaming really of sports in a major way.
CBS said CBS said they're not including NFL in this online offering.
The cord cutting thing, sometimes I hear people say it's totally overstated. Really, most people still are getting their content through their cable subscription.
I'm not. I know I work for the cable news network, and I don't have cable like many people in my generation.
Don't tell the boss. This will be his last day.
Don't tell the bosses.
Well, it's definitely, I think, a demographics issue. I mean, there are lots of older Gen Xers like me and boomers as well that haven't yet cut the cord, but we're just getting older and older.
Last year was a big turning point too. The cord cutting really sped up. I think the fact that you've got CBS and HBO and all of this is this is seminal year.
Seminal year, game changer, turning point, cord cutters. Good news for you. All right, a new perk that's not without controversy. Facebook will pay for female employees to freeze their eggs. Apple reportedly will add that benefit starting in January. Supporters say this promotes motherhood. This is good for women. This gives them flexibility. This allows them to really focus on their career at a young age and worry about the child rearing later. Critics say it pressures women to delay child rearing. This is a big topic of conversation among people like Rana and I. This
and
is
the rest
really
of us?
but I think this is I think this is tech changing what we're expecting for our companies and for their coverage.
Well, and it's done that in so many ways already. I mean, I think increasingly the American work culture is a tech culture. It's 24/7. People are in cubicles. I think that in some ways this reflects how male and how hard driving technology is.
Oh,
the
really?
fact that I do, and you see that the numbers of female executives are very low in tech. Marissa Mayer taking 3 minutes off to have her child and go back to work. I got to say it makes me tired, all of it.
A lot of the women who were asked about this in the tech industry said one of the reasons they want to freeze their eggs is because they just can't find a husband. It's not necessarily about work, it's about finding a good man.
It's not a lack of viable eggs, it's a lack of viable men.
My question is, if you're gay, theoretically, and you know somebody, you're a male in one of these companies, and you know a woman whose eggs you want to use, will the company pay for you to freeze her eggs?
I don't know. In tech, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody pressed the issue if they figure it out.
I think the big message here is lean in eventually. I mean, Sheryl Sandberg, it's all about how she gets out of the office at a normal time so she can go home and spend time with the kids.
Who believes that? Who believes that?
Well, look, I spoke to a big tech CEO recently who told me that what happens is women go home, put their kids to bed, make dinner, they come back and work till midnight. That's the reality.
Yeah.
That's the reality.